Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So before we get into your work as a creator and all of the things that you do, I want to know 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out how we were getting out of this pandemic. How did you get through that time period and how did it change the way that you do things now?
Well, I was one of the rare ones who loved it. Like, I was so glad that I was given permission to take time off because I was newly divorced and my daughter came with me and she was really struggling. She graduated in 2020. So she was that, senior year that got hosed and that was hard for her. And so by the time we were allowed to close up, grateful for the rest.
Yeah.
And I took the opportunity, I started watching a lot of spiritual documentaries. I started watching a lot of like psychic stuff and cuz I was starting to have experiences that I wanted to understand. So I kind of went on a spiritual journey in that time and by the time we reemerged, I was for sure a changed person.
So talk to me a little bit about exactly what you do right now for a living in 2024. If I was to put you in front of a bunch of grade schoolers at career day, let's say third graders, and one of the kids was curious and said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I would say I help people get healthier and happier.
Okay. So it's holistic medicine, and is it also spirituality? Like,
It's evolved into that because that's how I ended up evolving. When I first started, well, I'll back up to say I have my bachelor's degree is a pre-med degree, and then years later I decided to go to medical school, but Eastern medicine, acupuncture school. And when I first opened my doors, I was very much a sort of East-West science person and evidence-based and all of that. But I did do something unusual in that I was having everybody take a personality type quiz at the first appointment because I had also learned about this personality typing system called the Enneagram while I was in acupuncture school. And so I was sort of just observing patterns among the personality types. I wasn't totally sure how I would apply the information, but it became quickly clear that our personality type absolutely does create a health pattern. And the way we think about things and the things we believe leads to the choices that we make, which leads to the health that we have. And I started to become as interested in that as I was in the acupuncture.
yeah.
And then when I got into more of a spirituality, I added into my practice something called quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is a rare form of past life regression hypnosis. So if you already thought past life regression hypnosis was unusual, this format is even more unusual because not only do you get to experience a past life, you also get to channel your own higher self. And the client comes in
Wow.
with a list of questions. Please ask my higher self these questions. These are the things I need to know. And the healing that comes from that avenue was remarkable. So now I'm kind of blending them all together.
So in my brain, I'm thinking there's a part of like you don't want to go back in time and intermingle with anything that happens because it could create a tear in time and affect things in an adverse way. But it's okay in the rules of spirituality and a higher self and past lives to delve into those levels.
Well, you're not influencing anything. You're a watcher.
Okay.
It's sort of like it's really an interesting experience. It's like you're in the body watching this experience through those eyes. But you are not bought in. You're observing this happening. So like I had my own past life regression where I saw myself I was a Mongolian acupuncturist like I don't even know how long ago, thousands of years ago, I think. And I'm standing at the top of the hill and I can see down at the bottom of the hill my wife kissing another man. And my experience of it was like it dawned on me that I was like, oh, this really hurt me. This made me really sad. But I'm not grieving. I'm not overcome with emotion. I'm realizing, oh, that's how that impacted me. So you're a watcher, and your higher self is picking which past life you'll see because it's informing something in your life now. So you're not
Okay.
messing, you're just watching.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. So I'm curious, when you were in the third grade, what was your dream? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a mom of 4 boys. I was sure
Uh,
I wanted to be a mom of 4 boys. I had 1 girl and I was like, "I think I'm good."
So take me back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised, and how did this dream become who you eventually became? How did you evolve to this point? What were the foundational seeds that were planted?
Hmm. Okay, well, I, grew up in the suburbs of Detroit, and I was an unusual child. I think I would call myself a magical child. I was very wrapped up in nature, and I had spirit friends, and, I was kind of always doing my own thing. Um, so when I was a kid, it was very playful, very loving. It was a very happy childhood. So I don't know that the outer stuff at that time was affecting me as much as the spiritual journey that I ended up going on kind of changed everything. So who I thought I was that age is not how I live now. But even then, now that I think about it, I could feel other people's feelings. And I didn't really, when you're an empath, you don't always know that you're feeling somebody else's feelings. They feel like they're yours. So I was very sensitive and emotional, but I realize now I was picking up a lot of energy of the people around me.
What was that first experience like, spiritual experience, where you thought, there's something that I can see that others don't, or there's another level of this life that's deeper that I have to delve into?
Wow, that's a cool question because my first experience was that it slowly dawned on me that every day I looked at the clock and it was 6:51 AM or 6:51 PM. Like pretty much as soon as I knew my numbers, I realized I was seeing the same numbers over and over and over again. And eventually I realized that's my guide. My guide is trying to show me that there's somebody with me and they're saying hello. And to this day, I see 6:51 pretty much twice a day.
Wow, that's pretty
Our
cool.
little magical hello every day.
Yeah, that would almost be something that could become a tattoo, so to speak, you know?
It's
Yeah,
definitely my number, and if I see it mostly I'm seeing it on the clock, but if I see it on a receipt or in some other context, I get a little thrill, like, "It's for me, that's a message for
yeah,
me."
yeah, that's cool. So, who's been a hero for you? Who's been an inspiration for you in your life?
Hmm. Well, it's funny. I would say Brene Brown has been a real inspiration. I'm attracted to people who pioneer their own way, who have their own theories or curiosities, and they pursue them because they love them and they're fascinated by them. And I think when you feel so called to a particular topic, it is part of your purpose. It's not an accident that you feel extremely drawn to a certain topic and really throw yourself in there. And I think she's done really amazing things with her academic research, went on to empower so many people. I find that really inspiring.
So, if you could meet one person alive on the planet, would be her? Who would you love to meet and spend some time with?
Oh, wow. Hmm. No, it would have to be somebody spiritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more and more inspired by the trailblazers, people who really follow their own inner leanings instead of what society is telling us. So there are lots of psychics I wouldn't mind meeting and talking to them about their journey.
So it's interesting. I'm always fascinated by minds that can pick up on such spiritual leanings and to see past lives and to see a higher version. And it leads me to think that a lot of us down here, well, I know me, and I know there's a lot of people that really want to know kind of, why are we here? What are we doing? If there are other lives in a higher level, what's this version mean, and how does it fit within kind of the accordion of everything that we know that we're living here in this reality? So my question to you is, because of these abilities that you have to see all of this, Do you have a cleaner insight into why we're here, what this means, what the whole timeline means for our existence as human beings in this realm?
Say I think I'm lucky enough to have some extra insight. I certainly wouldn't claim to know it all, but I've certainly discovered enough that has brought me an enormous amount of peace and understanding about why we're here.
Yeah. Um, so what is it that gets you up every day to do this work that you do? Because what you're doing obviously requires a lot of energy and insight to help people get to a place that's going to give them more peace, which takes energy out of you. But you also have to save it behind to evolve as a human being yourself. What is that collective combustion, that collective gas every day for you to do all of this?
It's transformations. I find observing, witnessing transformations to be the highest high there is. And I've done a lot of training and scholarly study to develop the skills and insights to help facilitate transformations for other people. And, getting those emails and texts from people thanking you for changing their life, that this thing that you said meant everything and it really turned everything on a dime for them. I mean, I don't know that there's a higher high than that. It's really thrilling to partner with people in their expansion.
So, in life, the thing about living is that it's all improv. Everything happens once, and we see all these things that are unexpected all the time. We're always surprised by life. With what you're doing, with the insights that you have that are deeper than just, our 3D world, are you continually surprised? Are there things that just every once in a while just strike you as, wow, that was crazy? Do you ever feel like that?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, I think the more you open up to believing in magic and mystery, the more it reveals itself to you and you start to have very interesting experiences. I had one not very long ago. Um, my mom was going through some health stuff. And I was in the middle, and she lives in Detroit, and I'm in Tucson. And I'm in the middle of, um, oh, I was watching a guided meditation video, and my phone all of a sudden starts playing. I recognize the music immediately. The soundtrack from the show Fringe. You know that
Yeah.
show?
Uh-huh.
Right? Out of nowhere, my phone starts playing this Fringe song. I'm like, "What is going on?" I put my phone, I'm trying to hit pause. There's nothing to pause. There are no apps open. This track is not running anywhere on my phone that I could find. And I was like, "What in the world?" So I thought it must be told that this video that I'm watching right now is significant for me and I'm supposed to pay attention. And it was a channeled message about how when bad news hits, don't react. That was the message from this guided meditation, was saying, stay chill. You still need to trust that you can bring about the highest outcome for yourself. And that whole freak out and getting on Facebook and chatting about it and calling everybody about how upset you are really sets you more into the negative consequence. It's that upsetness that is attracting something negative. So that was the advice. And then, probably 5 minutes after I finished watching the video, I get a call with really bad news about my mom's health, like really bad. And I was like, I had this, I don't know, I just immediately had this soothing feeling come over me. And I remembered the video and I thought, oh, I'm not supposed to react to this,
Yeah.
like I'm supposed to just, and I said, Mom, it's going to be fine. I just have a feeling this is all going to work out. And then the next day, she called and said, yeah, it's all straightened out. Never mind. It's all fixed. And I really took that as a validation of the message. And then a couple weeks later, I'm cooking. And the same thing happens. My phone just all of a sudden plays the same Fringe song.
Wow.
I'm like, well, now I don't know how to interpret this because I'm cooking. I'm not watching anything. So what does this mean? And I thought, I guess it's supposed to mean don't freak out about something. And within a few minutes, I got a call again that was, oh my gosh, this thing,
Yeah.
and again, this time I knew, oh, I'm not supposed to freak
Uh-huh.
out about this. Just stay calm. And sure enough, within a day or two, it had all smoothed over and there were no negative consequences. And so that's an example of the kind of like magic that you can have in your everyday life once you are sort of open to receiving it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, of everything that you've done and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I'm going to say I'm really proud of how I raised my children.
Yeah.
I have a biological daughter, and then we came to have full custody of my husband's daughter, my stepdaughter. And so I was raising these two girls right when I learned about personality types. And so I ended up also, I was in intensive life coaching. I was learning a lot about things like nonviolent communication, which is a very high level way to communicate so that you don't escalate conflict in any way. And so I'm like practicing all of this on my kids. I guessed at their personality types. I was trying to apply how I was learning to communicate at a higher level. And these kids are really advanced people. You know, we joke now that I've ruined them for all their friends because they're little 50-year-olds running around in 20-something-year-old bodies, you know, but they're both really solid, peaceful, happy people. I'm
Excellent.
really proud of that.
So speaking of youth, if you had a dream tonight, ran into a 18-year-old version of you, you could give
Mm.
that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've gained along the way. What advice would you give your younger self? And would that version of you listen?
That version of me would love this advice in particular, which is don't let other people convince you to play small. You know how big you are on the inside, and don't let people tell you that you're not.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone around you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I feel powerful on the inside. I feel really big. I have done some meditations where I wanted to see how if I wasn't in my body, how far do I go? And I ended up having all the planets inside me. And I heard a crash in the kitchen. And I pulled me out of the meditation and I went and looked, and a glass cabinet had exploded in the kitchen while I was meditating on how big I am. So that I perceive myself is I'm intelligent, I have resources, I feel strong, I'm healthy, I know how to attract what I want. I feel very capable and a strong sense of purpose.
Are you hopeful for humanity? Is there a part of you with what you do where you really feel good about? I mean, we get all these stories of things that are happening in this world that are very suspect. Our political landscape strange? Do you but overall, how do you feel about where we're at in 2024 with human beings on this planet?
Well, we're actually the reason things are so intensely volatile right now is because we're moving into a new era of higher personal empowerment. So I feel very excited for people. There's sort of a chasm between people who feel love and compassion for others and who don't. And I would say that I believe we're going to start to see a bigger divide between those camps of people who are in it for themselves and don't really care about what happens to other people, and the ones who respect and honor life and want to live harmoniously. We'll see more and more people moving actually in that direction. And we're moving towards a happier time, honestly.
It seems as though it's kind of part of that cancel culture world where we're being more cognizant of things that are happening instead of allowing the powerful to get away with things that inherently aren't right. There's a moral compass that's saying there's something that needs to be corrected with what we're doing as people.
Yes, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction. So I would say we're realizing that we're creating this mess for ourselves, that
Yeah.
it's slowly dawning on us that we have something to do with the drama that's going on around us. And as we really, the work is to heal yourself, to heal your shadow, to become more integrated within yourself. And you would see that the world around you also harmonizes as you do that for yourself.
So, in regards to what I asked you earlier on about seeing a higher self and seeing a past life, you can witness it, but it won't create any issue. I'm
Right.
going to ask you this. If we get off this call and you can get into a time machine and get transported back in time and see one event in human history with your own eyes, just observe it. What would you love to have seen happen?
Hmm. That's a really interesting question. The thing that comes to mind is the Mayans. You know how everybody says the Mayans disappeared all of a sudden, that they had this very advanced culture and all of a sudden the whole society disappeared. In spiritual circles, it's believed they ascended to a higher dimension, that they spiritually elevated themselves to a point where they were no longer physical. And I would have liked to have witnessed this. I think that would have been pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's interesting because, there's a lot of things with like UFOs and spaceships and things that always kind of harken to that civilization. And I think that I mean, I think sometimes our concept of spirituality and God and everything that goes into that is hard for our brains to comprehend because we only use 10 to 15% of it. I think there's a level of higher intellect that kind of stops us inherently being humans to conceptualize things like that.
Well, I think you are right that it has always been the case. I don't know if you're aware of all of the solar flares that the sun has been experiencing.
Yes.
We have really off the chart, sort of unmeasurable at this point with our technology. All of a sudden, we're having all these solar flares. Well, again, in spiritual circles, that is believed to be activating new DNA for us. That these light is they are light codes is what they're called. There are programs inside the light that activate higher levels of DNA, and we should all so what I'm going to tell you is, even in my acupuncture practice where I wasn't working with somebody who already knew about past lives and all that stuff, people are having psychic abilities come online. It's happening all over the place. People are being, I would call it activated, myself included. Even my mom has started to have some really unexpected experiences in her 70s. That is those light codes. That is the light. We have more light on the planet than we've ever had before, and it is activating new aspects of our biology, including the pineal gland, which gives us more access to telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, stuff like that. So we'll see more and more people realizing they have more power than they thought they did.
Wow, that's interesting. That's fascinating. So if anyone wants to delve further into your world and hire you any of the good business, where can they go to learn more and find out?
So my work with the personality types and coaching is at yourvitalitypersonality.com. And my acupuncture and QHHT practice is at lightworkssoulcare.com.
Excellent. Candice, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story. It's just there's so much good that I feel coming out of here. So it's always so promising and just there's people on the planet that need to be here to help us all out. So thank you.
For having me. This is a really unusual interview. I really appreciate the questions that you asked.
Good, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much.
Take care.